How's it going, everyone? Johnny Talk Sports here, and I'm going to make this a quick, brief statement. So this week, the Week 8 college football picks against the spread and the Week 7 NFL picks against the spread. It's all put together in one video. So I know throughout the season I have done a college video and the NFL one separately, but this week I'm going to try something different and kind of put the two of them together. That way it's more helpful for everyone. That way I feel like I can make things a little bit easier for everybody. And second thing, if you don't want to really watch the video because it may be too long for you, if you're kind of looking for something short but not maybe too short, or I'm going to put the picks in the description box down below. I've been doing it all season, but I haven't really brought it up until at the beginning of the video until now. So I'm going to put those in the description down below so you can just read those. You can just read the description box. So anyway, let's get to the picks. Now my first pick against the spread this week. Ole Miss plus 3.5 over Auburn. Auburn has really underachieved this year so far. And which it's really hard to say that considering that Auburn looked pretty dominant in their opening weekend win against Washington. But ever since that LSU game, I think everything is just starting to fall apart for Auburn. I mean, they got beat up pretty bad by Mississippi State. They got beat up pretty bad by Tennessee. I mean, don't let the scoreboard fool you. Tennessee really dominated that matchup from start to finish. And the Gus Malzahn hot seat, I think, is starting to kind of really ignite into flames right now. And can anything really save Gus Malzahn other than a victory against Alabama? That's probably the only thing that can save him. And I think this game right here, it might be a foretelling whether or not Gus Malzahn will be the Auburn head coach in the near future. I think Gus Malzahn fire is going to be even closer than what we're anticipating. But Ole Miss plus 3.5, because Auburn has really underachieved so far this season, and Ole Miss has really overachieved so far, as they are quietly 5-2, and they got a quarterback in Jordan Tamo, who is 4th in the NCAA in passing yards. I think Ole Miss will win this game. I think they win it outright. So plus 3.5. Next pick, USC plus 7 over Utah. Utah did look dominant against Stanford. They had a nice dominant victory over them, but Bryce Love wasn't playing in that game. And USC, I think they're coming off their best win of the season. USC kind of struggled out of the gate a bit by losing 2 in a row. But I think ever since that, USC's gotten a little bit better. And the way I see this, I think USC is going to improve the further on this season goes along. And I think we're going to kind of see USC get better and better every single week until the end of the season when they play Notre Dame. So USC plus 7. That's my second pick of the week against the spread. Third pick of the week, Ohio State minus 13.5 against Purdue. Now, Ohio State did struggle quite a bit against Minnesota. They kind of had a little bit of a slow start. But the further on the game went along, the more dominant they were. And I think that might be the case again this week. They may start off a bit slow, but I think they will be more dominant the further on this game goes along. Ohio State minus 13.5. Third pick of the week, locking it in. Fourth pick of the spread against the week. Oklahoma minus 8 over TCU. Now, this Oklahoma team, well, I feel like this is going to be a steal, in my opinion. And there's two reasons why. One, this Oklahoma team is playing with a chip on their shoulder, especially after losing a heartbreaker in the Red River rivalry. Two, they're coming off a bye week. So when you add those two things, and a very, very angry Kyler Murray who's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, especially after he feels like he took all the blame for the loss against Texas. And I think this is going to fire him up. I think this could be the start of a Heisman run for Kyler Murray. Although I don't really want to say that because last time I thought there would be a Heisman for somebody. It was Real Greer, and he struggled against Iowa State. So I think Kyler Murray, if Oklahoma wins out, I think they'll make the college football playoff, and Kyler Murray will win the Heisman Trophy. So Oklahoma minus 8 over TCU. I feel like this is the steal of the week. I feel like this is a layup. Next we've got, my final pick of the spread this week. NC State plus 17.5 over Clemson. And I can understand why this spread is pretty huge. One, because Trevor Lawrence is going to be back. he's had a game under his belt to kind of get back into things. And he's got the bye week. Well, Clemson's coming off a bye week, and they're going to be at home in their home stadium. However, with NC State plus 17.5, based off of the last couple of seasons and kind of how NC State has been against ranked opponents lately, and I'm saying over the last maybe decade, there was one year where they pulled off an upset against Florida State when Florida State was number 3. And they almost beat Clemson a couple years ago when they were number 3. And they played Clemson pretty tough last year as well. NC State has a history of playing teams tough and playing them close. And I think this is going to be a case like this again. So NC State plus 17.5. That is my 5th and final pick of the spread over the week. Well, for this week of college football. Let's get on to the NFL. First pick of the NFL against the spread this week. Kansas City -6 over Cincinnati. The Chiefs are coming off their first loss of the season in heartbreaking fashion against the Patriots, but they did rally in the second half. And I think Kansas City has momentum. Despite losing the game, they've got momentum going into the next game. Because they didn't really lose in much of a heartbreaking fashion as the Bengals did. Because the Bengals were leading late in the game. The Chiefs just had a chance to tie. They just tied the game late in the game. But their defense, it bended and it broke when it mattered, when it came down to it. I know Kansas City's defense has kind of been non-existent throughout the season, but I just think Pat Mahomes, I think they're going to feed off the energy, especially with this being a Sunday night game, and we're heading into the late October, so it's probably going to be kind of a cold one, though. Even though Cincinnati is kind of adaptable to the cold with being in the Midwest as well. Just the loud crowd in Kansas City. I think that's going to be the difference. I think Kansas City will probably actually end up winning this game by double digits, especially in Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas City -6. That's my first pick of the spread this week. Second pick against the spread this week. Baltimore Ravens -2.5 over the Saints. The Saints coming off a bye week, and the advice someone gave me last in the comments section. Some teams look a little bit rusty coming off a bye week sometimes. And that was the case last week with the Chicago Bears. And this week, I think it is going to wear off. It's going to wear onto the Saints. And the Ravens, they're coming off what I think was their best game of the season, shutting out the Titans 21-0, and getting a franchise record 11 sacks last week. I think the Ravens are going to play with confidence in this game, and they're going to be back home in Baltimore. And I think they will win this game and cover the 2.5. Third pick against the spread this week, the Dallas Cowboys +1.5 over the Washington Redskins. The Cowboys had a huge confidence booster last week against the Jaguars, just completely demolishing Jacksonville, which who have I said has been overrated the last 2 seasons. And I think it's starting to be evident how overrated these Jaguars really are. Getting blown out by Kansas City and getting blown out by Dallas in back-to-back weeks just shows how much the Jaguars are overrated. But are the Redskins a bit underrated, though? Because they pull off home upset wins against the Packers, and they pull off an upset against the Panthers. So this might be a trap game for the Cowboys, but I think with the Cowboys and Redskins being divisional rivals, the Cowboys are very used to seeing the Washington Redskins. They're used to seeing how they're adaptable to playing. They're used to seeing the same teams twice a year. It's very helpful to prepare for. I think the Cowboys will do that again. Because if you remember, it kind of was the Redskins last year, playing the Redskins last year on Thursday Night Football, that kind of got the Cowboys back to at least salvaging what was left of their season. They kind of still had playoff hopes at that point. It was when Zeke was suspended still. But that kind of gave them hope. And I think with Zeke returning this time against the Redskins, I think the Cowboys win this game. Maybe not necessarily easily, but I think they get it done. Cowboys +1.5. That's my third pick against the spread this week, locking it in. And my final pick against the spread this week, the New York Giants +6 over the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. The Giants are horrible this year. The Giants are probably tanking. The Giants are kind of closing shop for the season. But the Falcons do not make it easy to win games. They just don't make it easy. Even if you just handed them the win on a silver platter, they're not going to just take it right away. They're going to do things. They're probably going to look like they're going to screw it up. And they probably will end up screwing it up on Monday Night Football, which is why I've got the Giants at +6. Because lately, because Falcons games and night games, when they kind of correlate together, it equals a short victory. In fact, what was I going to say? Yes, Monday Night Football last year against the Buccaneers and the Seahawks. Those two games last year on Monday Night Football. 3-point victories, and they had to rely on missed field goals on both of them. And I see this easily being the case this time around as well. So the Giants, they may end up losing the game, but they're not going to lose by anything more than 6. The New York Giants +6. That is my final pick against the spread this week. And those are Johnny's picks.